unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host,
Shane Bigham with you on this Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, the Chinese president's arrived in Serbia, where he's received a warm welcome from the Serbian president and people. China's Chang'e 6 lunar probe has entered an orbit around the moon, and Hamas has warned that there will be no ceasefire in Gaza if Israel keeps up its assault in Rafah. In business, global investors are flowing back into China's markets in spurts. Champions League finalist has clinched its spot. In culture and entertainment, a major Chinese film festival is now seeking submissions. Checking the day's top stories. China and Serbia have announced the elevation of ties and the agreement to build a community with a shared future in the new era, after talks between the leaders of the two countries. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Serbian President Alexander Vučić attended a signing ceremony for the cooperation documents in Belgrade. President Xi announced 6 initiatives to support the shared future plan, including the implementation of the China-Serbia Free Trade Agreement, expanding imports of high-quality Serbian agricultural products, supporting Serbian scientists and students in their research and studies in China, and opening direct flights between Belgrade and Shanghai. The president said China looks forward to working more closely with Serbia.
Reviewing history, China and Serbia made a greater contribution in safeguarding world peace and development. Our friendship has withstood the test of blood and fire. Looking forward, we made the strategic decision to realize people's expectations for a better life. Our motivation comes from the wide participation of our people and their firm support. China is willing to work with Serbia to embark on a journey in a new era to build China-Serbia community with a shared future.
President Vučić said he expects bilateral relations to get even better in the new era.
Our bilateral ties are the in terms of state-to-state and people-to-people exchanges around the world. I believe there is a vast potential for further cooperation between our two countries. That also requires us to make double efforts to deliver more tangible outcomes in our bilateral cooperation.
The two presidents earlier held meetings to review their friendship. President Xi Jinping said a better future for China-Serbia relations is unfolding.
Standing at a new historical starting point, and we work together, forge ahead together to open up a new vista in China-Serbia cooperation. And we will work together with the ironclad friendship to develop our bilateral relationship and safeguard our short-term and long-term interests, and also pursue our own development and rejuvenation, and also create a community of shared future for China and Serbia, and also to make new and greater contribution to the world.
Xi Jinping also thanked Vučić and the Serbian people for their hospitality. President Vučić said Serbia appreciates China's support in his country's economic development, infrastructure, and employment. And prior to their talks, President Vučić held a welcome ceremony for President Xi at the Palace of Serbia in Belgrade, and people filled the square to greet the Chinese leader. The Chinese ambassador to Serbia says President Xi Jinping's state visit to the European country marks a milestone in bilateral relations and cooperation. Li Ming says the visit will pave the way for a brighter future of cooperation in trade, investment, and infrastructure development.
In the year of 2023, President Alexander Vučić attended the third high-level forum of Belt and Road Initiative in Beijing. On the sidelines of that forum, China and Serbia signed bilateral free trade agreement. Serbian products, for example, Serbian wine, beef, pork, and other fruit products, dairy products, will also find opportunities in the huge market of China. China and Serbia cooperation has become a world leader.
Well, he adds that the ties between China and Serbia are deeply rooted in history, culture, and people-to-people exchanges.
If like middle-aged or senior people in China, we can always remember the movies and the literature in former Yugoslavia. So many Chinese visitors and tourists come to Serbia to look for their fond memories of our two countries. That has established a very deep and solid foundation for our friendship in the area of culture and the people-to-people links.
The visit by Xi Jinping to Serbia comes 8 years after his last visit to the country. The ambassador says bilateral relations have witnessed exponential growth in two-way trade, high-level political engagement, and cultural exchanges over the past 8 years. Serbia's labor minister says the country's exports to China have multiplied by 200 times within 12 years. The total reached $1.2 billion in 2023. Serbia is planning to increase its trade with China under the free trade agreement. Nemanja Starovic also says political mutual trust and support have guided the advancement of bilateral relations.
I really believe that the future of our relations is very bright. On the political level, we do not have any open political issue, as both Beijing and Belgrade are guided by the same principles in the international arena, the principles of sovereign equality and non-interference in internal affairs. So for us, we truly believe in one China policy. We believe that Taiwan is China, just as the People's Republic of China strongly supports the territorial integrity of the Republic of Serbia.
The Serbian minister says President Xi Jinping's visit's proof of the ironclad friendship between the two countries. With more perspective from Serbia about the comprehensive strategic partnership, we spoke with Dr. Nenad Stekic at the Institute of International Politics and Economics in Belgrade.
China is definitely at the core of Serbia's foreign policy. As of recently, Serbia is pursuing the four pillars foreign policy doctrine, and China is one of these four pillars which Serbia heavily relies on in international relations and in partnerships. Back in 2016, during the first visit of Mr. Xi Jinping to Serbia, the two countries have signed the comprehensive strategic partnership, actually. And this partnership, ever since then, had provided a lot. Both countries achieved a lot, and China's footprint in Serbia leaves indeed many huge infrastructural projects, investments, and further activities that connect two people. In this sense, there will be probably two or three main points to consolidate these strong ties, between diplomatic ties, of course, between the two states, and to preserve, to actually, for Serbian government, it is very important to provide the support from China.
That was Dr. Nenad Stekic on expectations from Serbia about future relations with China. The Far East Society from Serbia, devoted to strengthening Chinese-Serbian friendship, celebrates its 35th anniversary this year. As one of the most reputable Chinese-Serbian associations, they initiated and executed a large number of significant cultural, educational, and business projects and made a great contribution to the friendship of the two countries. Ivana Nikolic reports.
Through a remedial work of the Far East Society, many people in Serbia have learned a lot about China and its history, economy, art, language, etc. The society is also committed to introducing Serbia to the Chinese people. They organized many exchange programs and events and maintained lasting cooperative relations with many institutions in Shanghai, such as Shanghai Science and Technology Museum and the City Library, for example. Also, some cities in China and Serbia became sister cities thanks to the society, says their founder, Marina Popkin.
This year, we celebrate the 35th anniversary of the founding of the Far East Society, as well as 20 years of successful cooperation with Shanghai and 12 with Henan through the Chinese People's Association for Friendship with Foreign Countries. In 2016, the Far East Society was the first to introduce China's Belt and Road Initiative in Belgrade. This large-scale event was called Shanghai Sail.
In order to promote friendship between Chinese and Serbian youth, The Far East Society runs the free Chinese language school for Belgrade University students and organizes various joint cultural activities. Society member Irina Yotanovich participated twice in their Friendship Youth Camp in Shanghai and built lasting friendships with peers from all around the globe.
I also made amazing friendships among Chinese people, which I never even dreamed of, because China seems so far away, but now it is so close to me. I'm learning Chinese for 6 months now, but I really hope that the next time I visit China, my Chinese knowledge will be fluent, and I really can't wait to explore more the Chinese culture and to meet more Chinese people, and who knows, maybe go there for studies or family trip, or maybe even host some of my Chinese friends here in Serbia.
Besides economic cooperation, connecting young people and promoting cultural exchange proved to be essential for building bridges and nurturing Chinese-Serbian steel friendship. For the Beijing Hour, this is Ivana Nikolic in Belgrade.
Before arriving in Serbia, President Xi Jinping wrapped up a state visit to France in Tarbes. President Xi said his country is willing to enhance people-to-people exchanges and deepen trade and economic cooperation with France to consolidate friendship. Toward the end of his visit, President Xi arrived in the town in the Pyrenees and enjoyed a local dance performance. He also discussed major issues with French President Emmanuel Macron while tasting local foods at an inn overlooking the mountains. President Xi said despite their differences, the two countries can contribute to world peace, development, and the evolution of mankind through dialogue and cooperation. Macron noted the importance of cooperation in developing ties with China. He said he expects to maintain communication with President Xi in order to play a positive part in maintaining peace and stability in Europe and around the world. President Xi and his wife Peng Liyuan thanked Macron and his wife Brigitte for their hospitality. He welcomed the French president to visit China once again. Ken Brown runs us through the Chinese president's two-day visit in France.
Yes, the final visit wrapped up here at Tarbes Airport in the southwest of France, near the Pyrenees Mountains. President Xi was given a formal departure ceremony. President Macron brought Xi to a very special place for him where his grandmother lived in the town of Bagnoles de Bigorre. They took in some spectacular mountain views high up in the ski station of La Mongie, and this place very special to Macron. They had a one-to-one talk over lunch. They also enjoyed some events like some local dancing in traditional clothes. It was a relaxed day. A lot of official diplomatic work was done. The heavy lifting was done. Positions were made clear on trade, for example. President Xi said that dialogue and communication needed to remain open if the world is to avoid another Cold War. China, the EU, President Macron, France, I think everybody really left themselves clear on their positions, particularly in trade. There were more common ground in conflicts in the Ukraine and Gaza, where both presidents urged an instant or an immediate peaceful solution. And also, both leaders talked about working together to try and ensure a truce during the Olympic Games that are set to take place a couple of months from now at Paris 2024.
And that was Ken Brown reporting. Coming up, China's Chang'e 6 lunar probe is now orbiting the moon.
Dive into news like never before with Deep Dive, the podcast from CGTN Radio. Join our global reporters for captivating stories and thought-provoking conversations. Search Deep Dive on your favorite podcast platforms and get ready to dive in.
13 minutes past the hour. China's Chang'e 6 lunar probe is now orbiting the moon. Its lander will later separate, aiming near the moon's south pole, with the support of the Chuiqiao-2 relay satellite. The Chang'e 6 mission is aiming to collect and return samples from the far side of the moon. It's carrying international payloads, including a passive laser retroreflector from Italy and a negative ion instrument developed using technology from the European Space Agency. Barbara Kearney met the teams behind the project.
Simone Delagnello and his technical team developed an instrument bound for the far side of the moon on board China's Chang'e 6 lunar spacecraft.
Our instrument is called INRI. It stands for Instrument for Landing Roving laser reflector investigations. It's a device which is needed in order to find the accurate position of the lander. So there is a laser orbiting the moon, and when it is in the proximity of the Chang'e lander and this device will shoot a laser beam, and the laser beam will be retroreflected in the same direction it came from.
This will allow scientists to calculate the active position of the Chang'e 6 lander with an accuracy of a few millimeters. INRI will also add to a network of other reflectors already in space to establish a metric network of positions and distances on the far side of the moon. For over a decade, the Italian Space Agency and Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs in China have been pushing for more cooperation in space exploration between the two countries. This has also been very important for planetary scientists in France in order to realize their projects.
Europe does not have the capacity to land on the moon by itself, so as a European scientist, we rely on international partners to deploy our instrument to the surface of the moon.
In the Netherlands, Neil Melville and James Carpenter from the European Space Agency have been working with the Swedish Institute of Space Physics to build an instrument called negative ions on the lunar surface, or NILS, which will get to space courtesy of China's latest mission.
After landing, within an hour or two, when we get commanded to turn on the experiment, there's a small door that will open in the side to expose the sensor. And then the idea is solar wind impacts on the surface of the moon and kicks up all sorts of other products, including, hopefully, negative ions.
Working with his Chinese colleagues has been a great experience, says Melville.
Everyone's been very helpful, and we know that we're all there for the same scientific purpose. Everyone's excited about collaborating together. So it's been a very cooperative spirit trying to find the way forward to make sure this can work.
Scientific research collaboration with China has been very fruitful and interesting. Space is a strategic sector. The space economy is growing very fast. You have to develop very advanced technologies to do very difficult things. And so that pushes the borders, the boundaries of knowledge.
Combining European scientific know-how with Chinese space technology goes to highlight the growing importance of globalization in space, where science and technology must work hand in hand. It also helps relations here